Hi there. I am working on 6.4. We are adding and subtracting rational expressions, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So what I want you to do first is I want you to read through the notes before you do the examples. It's very important. You must, if you're going to be adding and subtracting fractions, you must have a common denominator first, and that's the first aspect that we're going to be doing. So the first problem is a regular fraction. It's 7/15 plus 3/15. Now, because they already have a common denominator, we don't have to do anything special. The denominator is just 15. And then you add the numerators together. 7 plus 3 is 10. And you're finished. That's the answer. But if you can reduce it to lowest terms, you need to make sure that you reduce it to lowest terms. If you notice the 10 and the 15, they both share a 5. So I'm going to actually factor out a 5 of both of them. 10 divided by 5 is 2. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So the fraction reduced to lowest terms is 2/3. Now, the next problem, if you notice that the denominators are the same. The denominator is x plus y. Now, the numerators are 2x plus 2y. Well, you can't really add those together, so all I can do is just write them down, just like that. Okay? Now, if you can factor it, you must factor it. If you notice the numerators, they both share a 2. So I'm going to take out a 2, so that's going to leave me with x minus y. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times y is 2y, all over x plus y. Now, here's the important part. Whatever's divided by itself, it's 1. So this whole thing can be divided by this whole thing because they're exactly the same thing. So it goes into each other once, and you're left with 2 as your answer. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right. Let me reset this so that I can have the timer. All right, let's go ahead into the next one. Now, please read through. Those are very, very important. However, I'm just going to work through the problem with you. This is a normal addition problem, but the denominators are not the same. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a fraction plus another fraction. You're going to look at the number 10 and you're going to look at the number 15. You're going to find a number that can go into both of them. So if you want to, this is what you would do. I know that the two factors that give me 10 are 2 times 5. I know that the two factors that give me 15 are 3 times 5. What I like to do is, because they both have a 5, I'm going to circle them. So in reality, I have 2 times 3 times 5. And that's going to give me my least common denominator, which is 30. All right? So I'm going to make both of these 30. Now, what would you do to 10 to get 30? Well, I'd multiply it by 3. Whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, whatever you do to 15 to get 30, which is multiply it by 2. Whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top, and that gives you 2. Now, my denominators are the same, and that's 30. Now you add the numerators together. 3 plus 2 is 5. Remember, if you can reduce the fraction, you must do so. 5 goes into 5 once, 5 goes into 30 6 times. So your answer is going to be 1/6, and you're done. Move on to the next one. Now, the next one, you got to get a common denominator before you can add them together. So I'm going to get a common denominator right now. 3 and 7, just multiply them together. That's going to give you 21. They both have to have an n, and they both do. So they both have to have an n here. Now, this is what you're going to do. What would you do to 3n to get 21n? You would multiply it by 7. Whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 7 times m is 7m. Now, what would you do to 7? Whatever you do to 7n, you're going to multiply it by 3 to get 21n. Whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. 3 times 2 is 6. Now your denominator is 21n. You're going to add your numerators up, which is 7m plus 6. I'm sorry, it's the music thing is going. You cannot simplify this any further. That is your answer. Let's move to the next one. Now, on the next problem, we are going to add those together, but before you can add them together, you need to factor it if you can. And I can factor the second fraction. So I'm left with p squared minus 1. P squared can be square rooted, 1 can be square rooted, and they're separated by minus sign. That is actually known as a difference of squares. The square root of p squared is p. The difference of squares says one's a plus sign, one's a minus sign. The square root of 1 is 1. That's the quick way to do that. Now, to get a common denominator, this is how you guys would do this. First of all, they both have a p plus 1, so that's awesome. Remember, they have to both have it. This one has a p minus 1, so they both have to have a p minus 1. So just to make sure, they have to have both of them, okay? So what would you do to p plus 1 to make it look like p plus 1 times p minus 1? Well, you would multiply it by p minus 1. Whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. Now, negative 2 times p minus 1. Since we're adding these together, you do have to simplify, you have to distribute. Negative 2 times p is negative 2p. Negative 2 times a negative 1 is a positive 2. Now on this side over here, you don't have to do anything because it already has exactly what, there's nothing missing. So this up here is just going to be 4p. Now, my denominator is p plus 1 times p minus 1. Now add the numerators together, whatever you can. I have 4p plus a negative 2p gives me a positive 2p. I have a positive 2. Now, you would think I'm finished, but I'm not. So, oops, I don't know why that disappeared. There you go. So now what's going to happen is I have p plus 1 times p minus 1. I notice in the numerators they both share a 2. So if you can get rid of something, remember whatever's divided by itself is 1. So that goes to 1 and that goes to 1. So my answer is 2 over p minus 1. And you're finished. That's it for that one. All right. Next one. Let's keep going. And how many more do I have left? Oh, I got a lot to go. Oh no, we still have lots of time. So I just wanted to make sure I had plenty of time. All right, next one. It is again, it's a fraction plus a fraction, but you do have to factor it first. So my numerator I can't do anything with, but my denominator I can. So the only way to get k squared is k times k. I have this 4. My target number is 4. I need two numbers when multiplied together give you 4, but when added together give you negative 5. So let's do negative 1 times a negative 4 gives you a positive 4. But a negative 1 plus a negative 4 gives you negative 5. That's your middle term. We found our two factors. The first factor is a negative 1. The second factor is a negative 4. Plus 3 is in the numerator. Now down here, this is a difference of squares. So remember, it's going to be k plus 1 and k minus 1. The reason why I know it's a difference of squares, I can square root the first term, I can square root the last term. They're separated by a minus sign. Now, get rid of stuff. Well, you can't get rid of anything right now because you got to find a common denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 parentheses. Now, this one has a k minus 1 and that one has a k minus 1, so we're good. K minus 1, they both have to have it. Okay. This one has a k minus 4, but this one doesn't. They both have to have a k minus 4. Whenever you have something like this, they both have to have it. No big deal. This one has a k minus, a k plus 1. They both have to have a k plus 1. So you just got to write them out. Whoops, I don't know what's happening. It's having a moment. Okay. Could be just a long time on this computer. I've been writing notes for days. All right. For hours, I mean. All right, so now what you're going to do is, now that you found a common denominator, you're going to look at this. What is missing from here that is in here? So I have a k minus 1, I have a k minus 4. I don't have a k plus, so I'm going to put a k plus 1 here. Whatever I do to this, I must do to this here. Remember, you do have to distribute. 2k times k is 2k squared. 2k times 1 is a positive 2k. Now, what's missing from here that's down here? Well, there's a k minus 1, there's a k plus 1, but there's not a k minus 4. So that means you got to put a k minus 4 here, and you also have to do a k minus 4 here. You do have to distribute. 3 times k is 3k. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Now, the denominator is exactly what it is. All of these. Let me just write them all out. All right, it's whatever this is here. Now you do have to add the numerators up. So I get 2k squared. I get 2k plus 3k is 5k. And then minus 12. Now you guys, I don't know 100% if I can factor 2k squared plus 5k minus 12. I don't know if I can. It's not the easier ones where I actually can use the shortcut to factor it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to try to use the AC method. I don't know if it's going to work, but I have to at least try. So I'm going to put a little bubble over here somewhere. Whoops, if it lets me. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the AC method here. And I'm going to try 2k squared plus 5k minus 12. Remember, I'm trying to figure out if this can do this. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try. All right. When you do the AC method, your A is 2, your C is negative 12. So it's going to be 2 times negative 12, which is negative 24. That is my targeted number. Now, because that is my targeted number, I have to find two numbers when multiplied together give you negative 24, but when added together give you 5. I'm going to go with negative 3 times 8. That is definitely negative 24. I know that negative 3 plus 8 is 5, and that's my middle term. So far, it's looking good. Now, remember, when you are using the AC method, you write down the first term. You write down the last term, and you put a big plus sign in the middle. Now, I don't care which number you use. I'm going to go ahead and just use the 3k. Remember, the variable is k, and it's just negative 3k, and then this is going to be 8k. So I have my first term, I have my last term, and the two black terms, negative 3k plus 8k is 5k, which is your middle term. So it's the exact same problem. Now, I grab the first two together. I grab the last two together. What you have to do is these two in here share a k. So I'm going to take that out. These two here share a 4. And I'm going to take that out. Now, these two share a 2k minus 3. And then I'm left with k plus 4. So yeah, it was factorable. It was 2k minus 3 and then k plus 4. Now, here's the sad part. All of that work, and there is nothing I can do to cancel anything out. I can't. There's nothing for me to do. There's nothing that's up here in the numerator that's down here in the denominator. Even though I have a k plus 4 and a k minus 4, it does nothing for me. So your answer is all of this. All righty. I'm going to stop here because we have a lot more to do and I don't want to run over time. I will see you in video B. Have a great day, everyone. Don't go away. Come back to my meeting. All right.